Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. My name is Ace, and as you can see, I got another TF2 gameplay video here for you. Playing as a medic, doing some man versus machine, as you can already see. And I'm using the Vaccinator, the new medigun that came with the Christmas patch, or the Mecha update if you want to be correct or accurate about it. And it's a very interesting weapon with a lot of nice mechanics. Now, if you're not familiar with the mechanics, I have covered them in a little bit more depth than I will do in this video in a different video, which you can find in the description box below, which I would recommend to watch first, as you are then familiar with the mechanics and you may then understand my points that I'm about to make a little bit better. But without further ado, watching from a man versus machine perspective, this weapon is a lot of fun. It allows you to not feel like a mindless healing bot as every other medigun makes you feel, as you can, mess around with the entire damage reduction and type of damage reduction that you can select mechanic of this very particular medigun. But is it the best medigun for man versus machine? No. However, it is in fact a pretty decent medigun. You just need to have good communication. The uber charge of this medigun lasts for 2 seconds. Yes, you have 4 charges of it, but they only last for 2 seconds if you don't chain them. And these 2 seconds are not a lot of time for another person to respond to it and make something useful out of that uber charge. So you may end up wasting it without good communication. That said, you could argue that the increased uber charge rate that is basically already on the gun itself, but also obtainable by upgrading it in the man vs machine upgrade panel, makes this kind of trivial. And to a certain extent you would be right. However, there's another mechanic or another thing to this medigun which kinda counters it. Any progress made to another uber charge is wasted when you use an uber charge. So for an example, if I have one uber charge and I have 75% to the second one, and I will then use my uber charge, I will end up with nothing after the uber is done, which is something you want to be very careful with. Now, you also have to adjust your playstyle a little bit, as I said, which mainly has to do with the fact that this is a damage reduction, it's not invulnerability. And I've seen a lot of people just going in, not thinking about the consequences, into an army of soldiers and devilmans alike, and they will get focused, and 75% damage reduction will not be enough to stop that. And you also have to understand that you are being overhealed, as we medics are not being overhealed, considering we are the ones overhealing you, right? And you are not overhealing us, unless you are a medic that is healing me. But for the sake of this point that I'm trying to make, you are not a medic, you are a heavy, a soldier, a devilman, something that likes to go in and do a lot of damage. And we are most likely going to die relatively quickly, and you will follow by that. So this weapon is made to be semi-aggressive, not full blown up, uber charged invulnerability aggressive. No, just semi-aggressive. You wanna, poke your head out, do some damage, soften them up a little bit, fire a few rockets, nades, stickies, whatever, do your thing. But once it gets a bit hairy, you wanna get back into cover. And we can, extend that time by giving you damage reduction so you can get back safe, or you can just attack safe. But you just want to poke in, poke out, in, out, in, out. That's what you want to do. However, with, of course, a stock medigun uber charge, you can just go in, blow everything up, and wait for the next wave. This is why I find that the stock medigun might be a bit better in the long run. But personal preference, perhaps. But this weapon does allow you to basically, be semi-aggressive to a certain extent. And if you can take the wave because the wave is split up, it's not focused on you entirely, then, just stand there because, we're healing you anyway. It would be a waste to take cover if it's not needed. So it's a very interesting thing to see how you can adjust your playstyles and how you must adjust your playstyle to a certain extent if you don't want to die with this medigun. So to conclude, as this video is coming to an end, it's a lot more fun to play with in man versus machine, but also in normal situations. As a medic, because it gives you more interaction, you have to adjust your playstyle a little bit. You are not Rambo, you are 75% of Rambo in this case. And you have to have good communication to make this weapon, valuable. So in pubs, you may want to avoid using it unless you are playing with a friend that you can constantly heal. On a side note, before I forget, you can actually achieve a near invulnerable state by basically taking away a bit of money from your potential healing power. saving that up and upgrading your defensive stats, like the damage reduction against bullets or explosions and such, which means against a specific weapon type you can achieve that near invulnerable state. And if you have the same person that you are constantly healing for whatever reason, you can in fact also make sure that they do that same thing, so you basically both have a near invulnerable state, which is kind of awesome, because you also have to remember that, you know, both parties need to be near invulnerable, otherwise the one will die before the other does, which would be a bit silly. But then again, it does require you to save money from potential healing power, and of course for the other person potential damage. So it is fun to use, but if you have problems obtaining the objective, I wouldn't really recommend it, because there are better ways of going around them. Now, that said, make sure to subscribe for more content, and I will catch you guys next time. Take care.